Welcome to the Extraordinary Acts for Others podcast, brought to you by the extraordinary friends here at Freedom's Ring. We are excited to celebrate the extraordinary goodness being done right here in our extraordinary country by some truly extraordinary people. It is our sincere hope that we will excite your spirit, and after listening to today's podcast, you will excitedly go out and do your own extraordinary acts for others in your community. Are you ready? Let's get excited. Thank you so much for coming back and listening to this bonus episode of the Extraordinary Acts for Others podcast, made by Freedom's Ring. We here at Freedom's Ring strongly believe that every extraordinary acts for others creates an even more extraordinary America. And that is why we are so proud of our service in our communities and celebrating others who serve and give back through their own life, business, and organizations. These are the extraordinary guests that we have coming on and celebrating each week. Because service to the well-being of our country, however that may look, is patriotism in action. I'm the host, Sarah Hunold, and founder of Freedom's Ring, and this week we continue our conversation with Leslie O'Brien and Susan Newell. They are the extraordinary guests this week because just over a year ago, Susan's daughter and Leslie's sister, Shauna, who was a Navy veteran, became part of that statistic that 22 veterans a day commit suicide. In the aftermath of their loss, Leslie and Susan decided to found Shauna Sweet Tea, a nonprofit with a mission to support mental health issues that affect our youth and veterans, as well as bringing comfort to family members experiencing loss because of suicide. We had the first part of our conversation last week, so if you haven't heard it, please check that out. And this week we have the second half of that conversation. But before we finish that conversation with Leslie and Susan, here is how Freedom's Ring is focusing on and addressing mental and emotional health and well-being. First of all, our essence is committed to growing our sense of community in the individual and in our communities as a whole. I've talked about it before, but I grew up in a town that was a very tight-knit community. And when we PCS nearly 3,000 miles away, losing that sense of community was devastating to me. That is what motivated me to learn more about how to build up community and how those findings became our mission, which is getting out and engaging in our communities, being proactive in building relationships in and around our communities, which is essential to the temporary lifestyle of military families, because it's the relationships that allows us to get more rooted. And the more roots and the stronger the roots that we have, the more resilient we can become to life. And so really that's our whole purpose, is to build that sense of community. But the way that we do that is really doubling down and focusing on service. Service is the vehicle that we use to build community, because research is so clear that volunteering has extraordinary benefits across the spectrum for an individual. When we volunteer, we see that our actions are useful, which makes us feel better knowing that our lives have a bigger purpose than just serving ourselves. When we serve a greater cause, we feel a greater sense of connection to the people that we serve, to the people that we serve alongside, and a greater sense of connection to the positive contributions that we're able to provide to the community and the people around us. So we feel empowered every time that we serve, and that's what makes us happier and feel more at peace with ourselves, and which really helps us stabilize our emotional and mental health. So those are the two ways that we really focus in on health and well-being, and using that research that comes out of psychology and positive psychology and community building, and really using it to build up the resilience and empowering individuals to do that. So with that, we invite you to become a friend, join our family that is dedicated to service. Membership is always free at freedomsringusa.org, and it will connect you right into our community. And now here's the rest of our conversation with Susan Newell and Leslie O'Brien with the extraordinary work of Shauna Sweet Tea. So let's talk about Shauna Sweet Tea for a minute. What are some of the programs that you guys are trying to design and create as you are building this nonprofit?
One of the big goals is to eventually have a product that can be sold in middle and high schools that will have positive messaging, a tea product that will have positive messaging, and the suicide hotline printed on the can that kids will become aware of positive self-thought and how to seek help if they need it, way above and beyond school counselors, because school counselors are overwhelmed and are not always keyed into what's going on. Mm-hmm. Bless their hearts.
Yeah. Well, and plus, these are kids that are not going to be like, hey, you know what, today I really need help, to like their principal. But if you have this can where you don't have to actually talk to anybody, you can go out and be like, maybe I can text this phone number, because you can text the suicide hotline as well, and keep in whatever's comfortable for them, and that's kind of really our goal is just to set off like, I'm having a really bad day, but I'm going to get this drink, and oh, look, like it says, go take a walk outside, take it easy today, or smile, or be nice to somebody, or, just nice things, pleasant things.
I saw on your social media that you had a Share a Smile. What is that movement about? And is it a one-time thing, or is it something that people could do all year long in Shauna's memory?
Anytime. Shauna, when she was, I guess, in junior high, grade school, I can't think of the timeline, when the movie Pay It Forward came out, she loved that movie. Mm-hmm. And that message. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do with that, because one of the things that everybody remembers about Shauna is her smile and her laughter. And so we just made that card to do a Pay It Forward, random act of kindness, whatever you want to call it, in her memory. Mm-hmm. And to spread that and make it a movement.
Mom, what did you do yesterday for the launch of Share a Shauna Smile? Tell everyone.
I went to the grocery store and bewildered a baker saying, I need to pay for a birthday cake. Like, okay, what's the name? I have a name. I just find a birthday cake that hasn't been paid for, and I want to pay for it.
Yeah, so just, keep it going. Like we said, yesterday was the anniversary, 1 year anniversary of her death. So instead of sitting at home crying about it, that's what, we went out and did nice things for other people.
Well, I just love how you guys have really turned that legacy into something positive. How has it been for you guys, and what has motivated you guys to turn such a private loss into something positive and public?
Yeah, I don't really see another way. That's just, maybe it's just our nature. I don't know.
I think it is a healing process. Mm-hmm. For us. It was kind of an immediate within the first month of her passing that we need to do something. Mm-hmm. That this is a whole lot bigger than us, and it's a whole lot bigger than Shauna's death. When you start looking for help groups and suicide statistics and things, it is just overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And it's like no other family has to go through what we've gone through. Yeah. If we can prevent one family from going through that pain, then our mission is accomplished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, kind of going back to the legacy thing, that's, keep it going. And yes, preventing this from happening for some family, because it's not just one person. When one person takes their life, there is a huge ripple effect that happens after it. And I know that the person that is in that position cannot see that there are other people that care, and they don't understand how far it actually affects people. But it's an immense impact on the world. And so we just don't want that to happen again ever. Yeah. But
we just want to share good.
Yeah. And yeah, and it is coping for us, but if we can help other people cope too, that's awesome.
I know with our mission, we talk a lot about volunteerism and taking that step of putting goodness and kindness there. And that's this podcast. And not that we've gotten any personal criticisms on it, but the kind of criticism out there is, so you throw positivity and kindness out there, so what? What motivates you, or what makes you really kind of dial in and say, this isn't so what? This is actually changing the narrative, at least to the people who will see the can or who will read your social media or whatever it is, that it's having a root that is saying it's not just positivity for sake of joy and it's,
right, let's all be happy.
It's a real action.
So what did you say? Re-gear. That's a great word. Having it out there constantly is just making people to stop to think, even if it's just 2 seconds of looking at this can and like, oh, okay, well, what's this? Oh, okay, so there's, people who are depressed, or people who, this is a real thing. That's what we're trying, because I think a lot of society kind of puts blinders up and it's like, oh, you're depressed? Okay, so I'm sorry you're sad. I'm gonna go,
Right.
and we all, most of us know that depression is not just being sad. Like, that's not what that's about. But it's that re-gear, like, make people aware of it. And if they see it enough, then there might be wheels that start turning. That's the hope, is to sort of get the general population to be aware of it. And the more aware of it you are, the more comfortable you are with it, leading to conversations and leading to helping people who really, really need it, who are kind of beyond the just depression stage, who are in that suicidal, I'm not really sure if I want to be here anymore. And the more comfortable people are with that, the more comfortable those people are with asking for help. Again, a generalized statement, but that's really what we're trying to do. So yes, like, put those roots in.
I think also, on a big, broad picture, it's bringing kindness back to society, being kind to other people. I think for the past maybe 10, 15 years, people have gotten very narrow-minded and put blinders on to the people around them, and you don't see other people. You're thinking only of what your personal gains and goals are. And so if we can get back to smiling at people on the street, opening doors for each other, things like that will make it a better world. Not big, huge better, but connect us as human beings in a kind way.
Has there been any resources that you guys have leaned on this past year?
Not a whole lot, honestly.
Not a whole lot.
We don't have anything locally. Like, I did, the frantic Google searching in the beginning of all of this. What do I do? Where's meetings? I don't know what to do, because there's really not a whole lot out there for families, which is, we're working on it. So no, we haven't had a lot of help.
Professional resources. I did see a grief counselor for a brief time before. I was in Houston and then have moved to North Carolina to be with Leslie, because I was in a really bad place in Houston, being alone. So I think we've kind of leaned on each other.
Mm-hmm.
I did see a grief counselor. I think one of our biggest resources is, 365 days?
Oh, yeah, something like that.
Jesus is calling.
Sarah Young, it's just like a little inspirational, like, it's not, you're not reading the Bible or anything. But yeah, so just like a paragraph a day. It's kind of like, hey, we're good. Everything's going to be fine. I know what I'm doing. Yeah. So every day I'm like, Mom, what did Jesus have to say this morning?
Yeah, it's both of us read it in the morning.
Yeah. But yeah, not a whole lot of, no, as far as like the outside world and professional resources, we haven't utilized anything. Maybe we should. I think we've kind of just created our own little coping mechanism via the nonprofit, because it's a lot to build this thing. So there's a lot of energy spent on that and not being sad and all of that stuff. So
I did read somewhere as I was researching for this that there does become a concern initially for family members that are closest to the victim there, that it's important for the family members to then start immediately taking count of their mental health and
immediately.
What are some of the things that you guys have done to increase your mental health and well-being?
Spirituality. Spirituality. Not even necessarily like religious, but just really like doing what's good for your soul. Whatever that is different for everybody. And just being present. I can tell you before her death, I was go, 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 go. Didn't have time for anybody or anything. And then I was like, well, that wasn't worth it, because it just really was a kick in the ass. Like, tomorrow's not guaranteed. Let's slow it down. But I think just really being mindful and self-reflective is what is important. And telling the story, I feel like was really helpful for me. And the people who are closest to you, like my husband or, close family members, eventually they don't want to hear it anymore, right? So, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's actually a term for that, like grief. Like when you overstay your welcome at somebody's house is like a term like for grief. But yeah, and so then at that point, if you need to keep sharing, a counselor is the way to go on that, because they're paid to listen to you, basically. And I think telling the story is a huge thing, and not trying to keep it in because you're afraid of the cringe that you're going to get when you tell somebody. That has nothing to do with you. That's all them and their personal beliefs. So yeah, just really, kind of getting right with yourself and telling the story as many times as you have to, even if it's 10 years later.
Yes.
We found a lot of, this is a very tight knit community. We have the label suicide survivors, which I'm not really a huge fan of, but
we need to find another word for that.
But when you start looking for it, then you realize there's a lot of people out there, which is not awesome. It's kind of a sad thing. However, there are people who get it. And back and forth, you can tell your story with those people over and over and over. And that's kind of what we're here for too. And a lot of things that I write or put out on social media about the situation, I always have, send me an email. Listen, I'll listen to you. I don't know you, but that's okay. So anybody listening to this who needs to tell your story, feel free to email you and I'll give you my phone number. But yeah, and I think, anything else?
I think if you can find a support group that fits, there's a lot of them out there and there's a lot of hurt out there. But if you can find one that fits your needs, for some people it's online, for some people it's face-to-face, that's good, because when you're in a support group, people don't get tired of hearing your story. Mm-hmm. And you can say things that a lot of other people wouldn't get. So that's good. I was very fortunate to have my family practitioner is very close to the family. And I was able to call her, and she checked in with me for about a week, off the clock, not appointments, just, how are you? Do you need anything from me? I don't think a lot of people have that kind of relationship with their personal physicians these days, but maybe going in and just saying, I'm vulnerable. I just want you to know I'm vulnerable. If you have a steady relationship with a physician, would be a good thing.
Mm-hmm. What's something that you would want all of us to know about Shauna?
She's freaking hilarious. She's so funny. She had a heart of gold. I mean, really, she did. We went horseback riding in Colorado when we were little, and she had to like make sure that all of the horses they had water and, they were fed and they were taken care of. Like before we left, like this little 8-year-old is like, nope, that horse needs water and that horse needs water. And we're not leaving here until you make sure that they get it. And that's how she just was with the world, with people, with animals, with everything. And we're just trying to spread that awesomeness.
Is there anything else that you would like to cover that we haven't?
I don't think so. We talked about our mini goals for our mission and all of our little branch out things. ShaunaSweetTea.org is where you can buy tea for now. That's how we raise money.
We have hot tea and iced tea.
Is selling tea by the bag right now. We are not to the canning level. Y'all, if anybody knows somebody who can hook it up with canning, and that's what we need.
That's what we need. And we have t-shirts and coffee mugs, tea mugs.
Yeah.
And all sorts of stuff.
But that's how we're raising money right now. And if anybody knows of, coffee shops, small restaurants, we'd like to get our, iced tea into, sweet tea. We're just looking for people who want to carry it, I guess, on a small scale. We just,
for now,
we got our paperwork like 30 days ago.
Yes. Yes.
But no, I think that's really it. And just, hey, be kind. Be kind.
Yeah. Be kind to yourself and be kind to each other.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Susan and Leslie, for coming on and sharing about Shauna and for being an inspiration for using the pain in your life to proactively reach out and serve others. You are promoting kindness in the best possible way and letting people know that it's okay to be kind to yourself and be kind to others. And so that extraordinary work is definitely something that we need more in our country and around the world. So if you want to learn more about Shauna Sweet Tea and the mission that Leslie and Susan are on in Shauna's memory, visit ShaunaSweetTea.org. So now it's time for some of our spirited stories of extraordinary acts for others that have happened across our country.